How often do you see people abandoning the process after they've made the investment before they yield the fruit? That if they had just stayed in a little bit longer, they would start to yield the fruit.
I've seen dentists bail on marketing campaigns 2 weeks in. Not even a month. I've been fired in 2 weeks before. And I'm like, dude, we're not even to the phase of you getting patients in the door yet.
So it sounds like they see the sizzle, they purchase the support, but are they missing the systems to capitalize on the impact? Very similar on our end as well. Everybody, loves to talk about financial planning and wealth creation, but what's the system? What are the disciplined behaviors that as business owners and individuals we have to put in place?
Welcome back to another episode of Dental Marketing Go. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help offices just like yours level the playing field against the big guys in the dental industry so you can grow the way that you want. And today I have Brett Miller, who's the partner at Wealth Advisor at Corient, and he's going to talk about how to stretch a dollar in the dental industry. Right now, this is one of the biggest issues is that everybody's getting squeezed. Labor is up, cost of goods are up, insurance are paying less. I mean, patients are even buying less. So everything's getting harder and harder. So you got to learn how to stretch the dollar. That means you got to get smarter. This was a really, really cool podcast. You're going to enjoy it. I promise you'll get value out of it. Stay tuned. All right. I got my friend Brett Miller here. Love Brett. I've gotten multiple times. We've hung out in person. We've done multiple podcasts together. Always a great time with him. And we were just talking and I was like, okay, we got to hit record. And I was like, okay, what do you want to talk about on this podcast? And you said and this is a big problem. You've probably noticed this before, but this podcast is unsponsored. What that means is we don't get paid to do it, but we want to bring you the best information possible. So how do we make sure that this content stays on the air? We need you to like and subscribe. Wherever you're at, whatever you're listening on, just give us a thumbs up or subscribe. And that helps us out so much. I know that you probably haven't done it. So I'm just going to sit here and wait until you do. 95% of our listeners have not subscribed to our podcast. So go ahead and do it now. Don't make this awkward. All right, good. Back to the show. The smashing down of the profit of dentists. Dentistry is not as profitable as it was pre-COVID, not even close. And it's very, very confusing to even nail that down. We all know it, but it's hard to even nail that down. And then you flipped it and you said, okay, what about stretching the dollar further? How do we stretch the dollar further in the dental industry? And so I just want to continue that conversation because I was like, I got to capture this. So break it down for me, kind of how you're viewing dental right now and the stretching of the dollar.
Yeah, and absolutely. And Gary, is always great to see you, my friend. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this and look forward to giving you a high five as always. No, we were chatting and let's face it, we're all dealing with the impacts of inflation. I feel like that's the buzzword. And I mean, as you very well know, what's easier, managing an expense or growing revenue, right? And right now there's compression on both sides. Why? Expenses are up. And by the way, that's lab expense, marketing, people, all expenses are up. And it's harder and harder to grow revenue because the insurance companies are also capping their reimbursements, right? So you're getting squeezed from both sides. So one of the questions that we're getting from our client base is, how do I do more with less at the same time of feeling like I'm busy? And, I think busy is a bit of an overused word in the context of our discussion. So the question to clarify is, how are you seeing business owners be smarter with the available time and resources to either make better use of what they are already spending, or better yet, what are people spending money on that they're not getting? Well, for those that know their ROI, are not getting an actual return on their investment and need to stop investing in.
Yeah, unfortunately. So I had a lot of conversations pre-inflation, right? Because we knew inflation was coming. Once they started printing money and all those kind of things, and everybody was just spending. They were spending their way out of trouble, meaning hiring more bodies, throwing more money at marketing, throwing more money at problems, which is fine. You can do that when money's cheap. but we knew what was coming next because this isn't my first rodeo, and I know it's not your first rodeo. And it's and same with a lot of business owners was money's going to get expensive, and when money gets expensive, you need to optimize, and you better be ready for that. So if you're not preparing now in the good times, when the bad times hit, you're going to be in trouble. And I've had multiple conversations with this on podcasts, with dentists, with consultants, with people like you. And unfortunately, most people did not get their marketing house in order. They just didn't. And you say, well, what does that mean? Can you predictably create a new patient that walks into your office at a known cost, whatever the known cost is? So even with the big DSOs, I noticed this. They just kept throwing money at it. And then when the money got tight, they were like, oh man, how are we going to produce new patients? And it's not easy. It's actually a very hard problem. You and I were talking beforehand. We were talking, and this is a little bit different because we're B2B. We were talking about brand equity and those kind of things. And you were like, man, yeah, 3 years. And I've been doing these podcasts for years. I did podcasts for years before I saw a penny of a return. It's not something that you just do and then you go, okay, podcast is going to fix all my woes, right? Same with dental marketing. You don't just get to walk into it and go, oh, everything's going to work. It's not going to work. It's actually guaranteed not to work in a lot of ways. So unfortunately, now people are really feeling that crunch right now. And I see it. And they're panicked. And they come to me and go, fix it. And it's like, well, we can start talking about fixing it. But you got to fix not just marketing, but your phones and your patient journey and your recare system and your employee retention, right? Like if you're turning employees all the time, marketing it doesn't really fix a whole bunch.
Well, good, bad, or indifferent, Gary, those are all hard and require effort, right? How often do you see people abandoning the process after they've made the investment before they yield the fruit? Like what's the typical point where people bail that if they had just stayed in a little bit longer, they would start to yield the fruit?
Dennis, I've seen Dennis bail on marketing campaigns 2 weeks in. Not even a month.
Really?
2 weeks. We're firing you. I've been fired in 2 weeks before. And I'm like, dude, we're not even to the phase of you getting patients in the door yet. Yeah, I know, because I don't like da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Yep. All right. We're fired. Thanks, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, I want that to be somebody else's problem. It's remarkable what people think. And here's the thing. They don't realize, what most people don't realize is marketing is simply a supportive role to the real business. It's just like HR. Mm-hmm. HR is not, it's a supportive role, right? Like no one's like, yay, HR. It's a supportive role. It's there to make sure you don't get sued and you cover kind of your downside and those kind of things, right? Marketing is a supportive role. It's a supportive role to sales. And dentists don't like sales, and okay, that's fine. It's a supportive role to the person answering the phone to give them a call to answer. And if they don't know how to answer the phone, it doesn't matter how good your marketing is. It literally doesn't matter. If you don't have availability on your calendar, it doesn't matter how good marketing is. It does not matter. It literally doesn't mean anything. So there's things that have to be in place for marketing to be successful. And I think a lot of people look at marketing as the sizzle, right? They get excited about it, but they don't realize it's just a supportive role to support the other things that you have in your business.
All right. You said 2 S's. I'm going to add a third one. So it sounds like they see the sizzle, they purchase the support, but are they missing the systems to capitalize on the impact? Which, funny enough, very similar on our end as well. Everybody, loves to talk about financial planning and wealth creation. Everybody loves to say, I want to create this incredible business that as a pass-through entity creates this wonderful cash flow. All right, but what's the system? What are the disciplined behaviors that as business owners and individuals we have to put in place, not only to prepare for the years of plenty, but more importantly, to guide us through the years of famine that we know. I mean, business cycles, there's cyclical. It's cyclical for a nature. Or I should say it's cyclical in nature for a reason. And, we see it all the time. There are plenty of, you can Google them on the internet. There's plenty of great case studies of people making bad short-term emotional decisions that compound the negative impacts of their financial outcomes.
Yeah.
And often it's bailing way too early on the system versus taking, we always say take the singles and doubles. Don't try to aim for the home runs.
Yeah.
Singles and doubles are what win a World Series. Don't home runs don't always win the World Series for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting. And this is really applicable to all business, I believe, that again, marketing is not going to, basically, if I was going to sum it up, marketing is not going to solve any of your underlying problems, and you're not going to grow your way out of it. And especially in dental, because dental is so centralized and local, right? It's not like if you sell cell phone cases, then maybe you might be able to grow your way out of it because you have the whole world to sell the cell phone cases to, right? But if you're only selling cell phone cases on the corner out here in LA, you're not going to grow your way out of your business problems like that. And that's dental.
Certain cell phone companies have struggled with that. They can't get beyond certain geographic markets. So
yeah, they have.
There's for that exact reason, buying preferences are different.
Exactly. And so you're not going to grow your way out of this problem. And some of the DSOs have figured this out, and so they take different approaches, right? And so, but really, at the end of the day, if you want to compete, because we're not working with the mega DSOs, right? We're not working with 500, 300, 100 locations for the most part. We're usually working with 1 to 50 practices, probably, right? And so those guys, your systems are going to dictate everything. And then when you put proper marketing on top of it, you're going to rocket ship. I actually just did a whole presentation. I'm actually doing a presentation on this at a couple of different events, is like how to compete against these big DSOs, because they do have some advantages over you, but you have some advantages over them. And I find this top. Oh,
what's the top 3? What are the spoilers? Can you give a spoiler?
Yeah. So the advantages that big DSOs have is they have economy of scale. They can outspend you. They have software and data, and they got like compliance and like all the dumb stuff that we hate as business owners, HR and all that kind of stuff. They have all that figured out, right? Like you go and do an agreement with them. They already have the 300-page contract ready to go, and it's better than your contract as your single location, right? They've already vetted it. They tested it. They've literally taken it to court and won already. Like they're just better at that kind of stuff. And you're not going to win at that. Where you can win at is it's still localized. You're the owner. You're right next to the patient. The owner of the DSO is not right next to the patient. They're actually several times removed. They don't know what's going on. You can answer the phones. Like that's a huge advantage. You can solve a lot of the patient journey problems that big DSOs just aren't going to be able to figure out. Like they just can't. And the way I break it down is this: the advantage that the smaller groups or I'll say private money versus private equity. I'll say it that way. That's easy. Right. Private money versus private equity. Private money means you get loans from the bank, and the bank isn't telling you how to run your business. So you get to choose how to run your business. Private equity, they're giving you money and they're telling you how to run your business. Okay. So the private money, you're a speedboat. You can go really fast and you can turn really, really quickly.
Yeah. You can make decisions very nimbly.
And to do it really, really easily. Right. And then the private equity, those are cruise ships. Now, they got coffee bars on the cruise ships. They have a gym on the cruise ship. It's really nice. And that's cool. But you can't turn them. You can't.
It just takes a long time.
It takes a long time to turn them. Where the speedboat, vroom, and you can get going back up to speed again. And you can go really fast. So that's the advantage. And the bigger you get, the slower your speedboat goes and the harder it is to turn it. So that's the advantage, is that, man, if you got 3, 4, 5 locations, you can do stuff. You can implement marketing and do this system stuff that I'm talking about in 3 months. You can do it in 3 months and get everything up and going really quickly. If you have hiring problems, things, culture, things like that, maybe 6 months. You can turn it around, right? Maybe a year. At big DSO, if you have culture problems, you might not ever be able to turn the culture around. You might never be able to fix the patient journey problem that you face. Or it might take years and years and years and years to fix it, to work that kind of stuff out. So that's the advantage that the private money has.
So when you're sitting down with that we'll call it 3 to 5 location speedboat, right? And I always like to ask it from this angle. You've had enough conversations to where you know what's going on in the back of their mind. Mm-hmm. What's the question they're all afraid you're going to ask them, Gary?
It's around operation clarity. And they always, not everybody, but almost everybody pretends like they know, but they have no way of tracking it. So
how do you level set on that?
So very simply, so it's just like, okay, what's your unanswered call rate? Oh, it's really good. Okay, well, what's the percentage? Well, it has to be close to 0. Okay, so you don't track it. That's what I hear when people talk like that. Oh, so you don't track it. I actually had a doctor, this is a real story. I said, Doc, we drove you 50 leads over the last couple of weeks. You didn't. He's like, and none of them turned into patients. Yeah, because you didn't answer 50% of your calls. Not true. Your data is wrong. I said, okay, well, I track this meticulously. I would love to look at your data. He's all, I have a phone, but and I said, wait, what? How do you track this? I hear it. I said, so you know that your data is your ears? I just want to get this straight because I'm using data of the calls that are missed that didn't connect to your office that's tracked in a dashboard, and I can see that you missed half of your calls, and you're tracking it with your ears. And then you want to have a conversation around that, like compare those numbers. There's no way to compare them. That's the essence of it, is that people are operating on their feelings, and then if you can just get it into data format, you can actually start to make some decisions and fixing it. And we were able, once we got on the same page, we were able to actually fix his problem. He grew. They're adding another location, but we had to level set on the data. It was like, you actually don't know the data. That's okay. Let's look at the data and let's fix this problem. Let's get somebody to help answer the phones. That's a very easy problem to solve. Converting on the phones. Yeah, that's another one. So they say, hey, I don't convert. Or everybody, the reason that we're not converting is because the front desk told me they're all shoppers. Well, yeah, they are all shoppers. Every single patient is a shopper, just like every single dentist is a shopper. So you have to have the skill set to turn them into a shopper to a buyer. And your team doesn't have that. Well, I just want quality. They have money to afford treatment. So it's just like this definition game that we play, that you can very easily stamp the problem as the problem is the patient. The problem is the marketing. The problem is not my team or not the front desk or not my right. side of the problem. And the problem with that is you lose complete control at that point if you're doing that, and you can't grow and you can't fix it.
It's the gap between perception and reality. Mm-hmm. I mean, we deal with this all the time of, hey, I have undeclared values, I have undeclared goals, I have undeclared expectations from whether it be a personal or a family or a practice standpoint. And so that I'm frustrated with reality because I haven't declared my expectations and done a true gap analysis to say, where are you? Where do you want to be? And then present a set of outcomes or decisions, say, how do you close the gap? And then, you mentioned a little bit earlier, everybody's on that journey. I think we a lot of times in our role, as I know you do as well, is we can't do this for you, but we can be the mountain guide or we're not the Sherpa, but we can be the mountain guide to say, we can't carry your pack for you. Can't do that. But what I can do is say, hey, I've watched others climb this mountain as well. And based upon that, here's some things I think you need to consider. Or, hey, here's where others have stumbled or hit plateaus. And here's the questions that others didn't ask that you should be asking in this context.
Yeah, that's really good. I think about it like I'm kind of, I'm feeling, I feel okay, but I feel kind of sick. And it's like, well, just go to the doctor and do the blood work. No, I don't want to do the blood work. And it's like, okay, you know what I mean? So keep taking stabs at it. And we've all done that before. I've done it before, right? Where it's like, and sometimes you go to the blood work and the blood work's fine. And it's like, okay, you're left figuring it out, because sometimes data can throw you off too. But that's the starting point. That's the starting point of where you can start having conversations.
I mean, one of my favorite books, and it's not a business book, but it's called Resisting Happiness by Matthew Kelly. It's all about getting out of your own way. Like so many people, and by the way, it has a great business application. We can't get out of our own way. to take the first step. I mean, how often, Gary, do you find when you're talking to prospective clients where they know what to do, they just can't get beyond step 1, 2, or 3?
I'll give you one. Like doctors know that they're supposed to get Google reviews. Nobody ever fights us on that. But then what they'll do is it's like, hey, everybody in your market everybody's charging $99 for a cleaning, and you're charging $300 for a cleaning. And that's all the patient cares about at the first visit is the cleaning. That's it. Maybe examine X-ray, but and no one's going to want to come in at $300. Nope, that's going to make me look cheap, and I'm not cheap. And I'm like, I promise no one's thinking that. Like, no one. That's you and your dental friends thinking that, but nobody, not the patients. They have no idea. They just think, dude, this dude, if he's 3 times as much on his hygiene appointment, he's probably 3 times as much on all of his other fees. So if you just come in at $89, target high income areas, make sure that you're getting patients that can afford your treatment, you get first choice at all the patients, or you can run it at $300. No one's going to call you. And you market for all the other practices and they get first choice at the patients. Which one do you want to do? And it's just like, that's such a small business principle, right? Like, do you do free consultations, Brett, for offices? Yeah. Why do you do free consultations? Because everybody in your industry does free consultations. Same with me. It's not because my time isn't valuable, or your time is very, very valuable. That actually cost you something to do those, but everybody does a free consultation. And guess what? Every dentist is a shopper too. And they're not going to pay for a Brett consultation for $1,000 when everybody else is doing them for free. They're just going to look right over you. And it's the same exact, these are the little nuances in dental that are literally holding everybody back. And it's just like, it's the same conversation.
Free consultation and 0 patient financing. Or I should say 0% interest-free financing on a treatment plan.
The dentists don't want to do that.
It's weird. It's atypical relative to the marketplace.
They won't.
I should say the broader business
and people
marketplace.
And the patients get it, and they're just like, "Dude, I can't afford this." But they won't tell you that. No one wants to tell you that, right? I don't know how we get into these conversations, and we didn't talk about my business. We didn't talk about your business. But I think it's good content.
We're talking about the applicable questions at hand because, I mean, at the end of the day, folks want to feel a sense of clarity and certainty around where their business is going, and then I think this is actually where, even though our businesses are completely different, they operate in the same space of we're in the confidence building business.
Tell the audience,
go ahead,
just tell the audience quickly what you do and who you serve, just so, because now we got them listening. So just tell them that.
Yeah. Sorry. So we are Corient. We're a national wealth management firm. Specifically, our team in Charlotte, North Carolina works with the dental and healthcare profession. And I would say in 6 words, we help business owners practice well, live well, and retire well. So optimizing the wonderful benefit of being a dental business owner to enrich the lives of their patients, families, and communities, right? So it's connecting the business with the personal values at the end of the day, one of my favorite questions always to ask, Gary, is why did you go into dental? Why did you go into healthcare? And I've yet to find that business owner who says, I really wanted to be a small business owner, focus on payroll taxes, marketing. No, it was a desire to help people. It was a desire to be entrepreneurial and to grow and to create opportunities. And then managing a business kind of got in the way of that. So where can we, similar to you, be a strategic problem solver, and help to address based off of being the guide with others on that journey and say, hey, here's how you deal with this so you can get on to the next thing, the next patient, or hey, the next vacation, whatever that may be.
That's awesome. So what if someone wants to reach out to you, wants to connect with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, best way is via email. So my email is brett.miller@corient.com, or feel free to visit our website, www.corient.com. And there's great resources and materials on there about how to find us.
Awesome.
Gary, thank you, good sir.